So this is our hand embroidery for beginners. So first of all, we need to thread our needle. So we're just going to give it a little bit of a trim to get it very, very straight. Pull it towards your nail, and then you should just be able to get that through the needle quite easily. Okay, if you need to look at other ways of threading your needle, we do have a really good how to thread your needle tips and tricks. Okay, so once you've got that through the needle, this type of needle is really ideal for ordinary sewing if you're using a thicker thread. However, if you are using a finer thread for more detailed work, you may want to use a much, much smaller needle. And somewhere in between those two is just perfect. So this is the one that I tend to use for most of my hand sewing. Okay, so how do we actually do hand sewing? So one of the main stitches that you use within hand sewing is the running stitch, and the running stitch is really good for attaching two pieces of fabric together, and it's really, really simple. Now there's two ways of doing it. You can go down into your fabric like that. Make sure that you've got a knot, because now I'm just going to pull that through and nothing holds it through. So if you don't knot your thread, you'll just pull it right the way through every time. So to knot your thread, really, really simply, just do a loop, put the end through, and then just ease that thread towards that end. Now again, there are different ways of tying a knot, and if you struggle with that one, you may find that other methods are easier, and we do have a how to tie a knot video. So there's different ways that you can have a little look at that. So I'm just going to take that down through that fabric. Okay, this is just felt, just to demonstrate on. Okay, so the knot now holds that thread in place and means that it doesn't pop back through the material. So a simple running stitch to come up through your fabric like that. Okay, and then you go back down through the fabric like that. So you're coming up and down into that fabric. So we're coming up and then we're going down. Now if you pulled it too tight, you may just have noticed then. So if you pull it too tight, you will potentially get this ruching. So it is important that you do occasionally just give it a little tug, and then that makes sure that they are all nicely spaced and this isn't too taut underneath. Now there is another way that you can do that running stitch. So if you come up there with your needle, okay, you can actually do it with one smooth needle. So if you just go up and down, up and down, up and down, okay, and then you come through and you can pull that needle through in one go. Okay, what that does do though is it creates slightly smaller stitches and slightly bigger gaps. Okay, so it isn't going to be quite as regimented as this area here. It's always going to be a little more uneven. Okay, so we're just going to do another couple of stitches, and then I'm going to show you how to finish off your thread. Okay, so we'll just get to the end just there, and then how do you finish off your thread? Let's turn that over so we can see. So to finish off your thread, just catch in a little bit of the material like that, okay, and then you can tie that around the end like that, pull that through, and it creates a nice little knot. And if you wanted to really, really secure that again, you could do exactly the same again. So just around your needle, and then you can pull that through, and it just creates this really nice knot, and then you would just snip it off like that. Okay, so when you've got the two pieces of fabric together, this is what it creates. It just joins them together really nicely, and because I've used a purple thread, you can see that thread. However, if you'd used white, it would be a lot less noticeable. So the purple thread shows up really, really well against that white, so it's really, really good for you to be able to see how I've done those stitches. So now I'm going to do another basic stitch, which is the back stitch. So these are the two mainstay stitches in ordinary hand embroidery. Okay, so again, we're just doing a little knot. Okay, and this time I'm going to start at this end of the fabric, and I'm going to come up just here, okay, and then I'm going to go down, just like we did with the running stitch, okay, but then instead of going up and down, like we did with the running stitch, you'll come up, and then you won't go down here, you will go down really, really close, almost down in the same hole as that previous stitch. Okay, so then you're coming up and down into that stitch. So we're coming up, and you could do these much smaller. I'm doing these quite large, so you can do these far smaller, and the same with the running stitch. You can do the running stitch much smaller if you wanted to. So this is just really basic hand embroidery, and this is how you start. This is really easy for you to have a go, and if you wanted to create little patterns with the running stitch, that's really mindful and really easy to do. And you could just do little swirls, you could just do little waves, or just straight lines. It's entirely up to you. The world is your oyster. So we're just going to carry on with this back stitch just to show you how to do that, and then how it again joins those two pieces of fabric together, and then I'll again show you how to finish off your thread on the back. And that is your basic hand embroidery tutorial, and it's really easy to do. I think you'll agree with me there. Once you've got the hang of it, you know, threading that needle and remembering to put that knot on, you'll find it very easy to do. So we're just going to put another couple of stitches on, and then I can show you how to finish off that thread, and you can see how it looks when you open it up. Just be careful that you don't pull that thread out of your needle, because you will end up having to thread it again, and the less amount of times you can thread the needle, the better. Okay, so we've just come to the back, and unlike this side where it was just a little row of stitches, this time we've got a lot of thread at the back, because every time you were doing that stitch you were going back to go forward. Okay, so all we need to do now is come underneath that stitch, okay, and again you're just going to go round the top of your needle, pull that through, and just secure that off like that. And if you wanted to not be able to see that end of the thread, you could just easily put that in like that through the fabric, okay, and then snip it off very close to the fabric like that, and then you can't even see the frayed ends. Okay, so then when we go to open it up like that, there you go, you've got this really nice row, and because it's the back stitch, it is more regimented. You can see the difference there. It's really neat, and it's very close together. So again, if you wanted it to be invisible, you would use a nice white thread. And there we go, there's our running stitch and our back stitch, and that's the basics of hand embroidery. Thank you for watching. Please do like and subscribe. It's really important to us.